The Ducati Multistrada V4 RS is a highly techie bike, but
unfortunately, we don't have it to review because we went on the wrong day, so...
my fault. So instead, we thought we'd grab the T100 and do a bit of a comparison video between that and the Royal Enfield Interceptor or Bear.
Sorry, Lucas.
So quite often we get asked, would you buy a Royal Enfield Interceptor or sometimes now Bear over an older Triumph Bonneville? Now we have a T100 in the garage at the moment, so we thought we'd do a bit of a comparison video. So the first thing about these two bikes is the looks. I think they're both really good looking bikes.
Yeah.
I must admit, I probably prefer the looks of the T100. I think it's a little bit more classic.
Yeah, it's definitely got... I mean, it's Phil's old bike.
Yeah.
And I know he described it as having those really beautiful, just smooth lines that flow from the front of the bike all the way to the back. And I would agree with that. I do love the colours that the Interceptor comes in. Particularly the Interceptor Dark.
Yeah.
With that sunset colour.
Yeah.
Or even just the dark. There's some pretty cool colours out there, but I agree. The T100 just has a very classic look.
Classic look, classic lines,
Yeah.
that bike, the design of it hasn't changed over many, many years.
Yeah.
I think they're both good looking bikes, but out of the two, I think the T100 is a better looking bike. So the next thing is power. Now, the T100 is an 865cc bike. It's about 60 horsepower. The Interceptor is a 650cc Lamb at about 47 horsepower. Now, I've got to be honest, I don't reckon there's a lot of difference in these two bikes in terms of power.
No, I didn't feel it.
The Interceptor has a wonderful engine.
Yep.
That 650cc feels a lot more powerful than it is to me. And so out of the two, I probably prefer the engine out of the Interceptor. The T100 for me just seems to lack a little bit in the top end that you wouldn't expect out of an 860cc bike.
Is it a heavier bike?
A little bit heavier. I think it's about maybe 10 or 15 kilos heavier, so it's not that much heavier.
No, not much, yeah.
Yeah,
but I agree, I feel like the Interceptor felt lighter. I remember when we reviewed it, we said it's not a twitchy throttle.
Yeah.
It is smooth to sort of get to that high end.
And so is the Bonnie.
And the Bonnie was exactly the same.
But the Interceptor and Bear, they're the same engine basically. The fact that they're a LAMS approved or learner legal bike, to me just makes it a better option than the Bonnie. Gearbox. The clear winner here for me is the Interceptor gearbox.
Yeah, I agree with that.
6-speed versus a 5-speed. The 5-speed on the Bonnie T100 just seems to be... I felt I was always searching for that 6th gear.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Interceptor and the Bear, you could sit it in 4th or 5th and not really need to use that 6th gear, but it's there if you need it. So that's something that my biggest disappointment with the Bonnie is that it's only that 5-speed, and it felt like you always wanted that extra gear. That's what you found?
Every time I rode it, I was searching for that 6th gear, and because it doesn't visibly show you on the dash what gear you're in, I kept thinking, I've still got another to go, and then I'm like, oh no, that's it, maxed out.
One thing, when you're talking about the dash there, one thing that I wanted to bring up was the quality of the switch gear between the two. It's very close, but Royal Enfield is just getting that little bit better and better and better. Triumph were there 10, 15 years ago with their quality.
Yeah, okay.
So this is a 10-year-old bike, and the switch gear, the clocks, everything looks premium.
Yeah, it's very tactile as well, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Even just turning your indicators on and off, it's like that nice big switch. You've got a button to turn them off.
Mirrors, clear winner.
Triumph.
Mate, those Royal Enfield mirrors are terrible. The Triumph ones, in their stock form, are absolutely wonderful.
Yep, nothing else to say.
Yeah. Comfort teagues, how did you find the seat on both?
Look, I mean, it's hard to compare. The Interceptor seat is not
like
a comfortable
plank of
seat.
wood. Yep.
So for me, 100% it would be the T100. Not to say that the T100 is a super comfortable bike, but by far, I think the seat itself, much more comfortable. Seating position, I might say the Interceptor. So I don't know, it's a bit of both.
So for me, I actually find that T100 seat awful. I found it like a plank of wood. Okay. Very much like and I rode it a lot more than, I've ridden it a lot more than you have.
Yes.
And I know when our mate Phil had that bike, he actually had one of those sheepskin covers on it.
Yes.
Because he said the seat's not comfy. And I did a decent ride on it not that long ago, and honestly, my butt was sore by the end of the ride.
How'd you find the riding position?
I find the Bonnie cramped.
Yeah.
I find that where the foot pegs are, it's surprisingly really, really cramped. And I don't know why. I just feel like the foot pegs are about maybe 10 centimetres too far back.
Yeah.
And I think if the seat was maybe 2 or 3 centimetres taller
Yep.
to give you a bit more room, whereas the Bear and the Interceptor, the actual ride position, I find really comfortable.
I feel like the T100 is the perfect bike to have the riding position of like the Meteor, where you have your feet
a little bit further forward.
Like not far forward, but just a little bit in front of you would be perfect for that bike.
So they do have a Speedmaster Triumph, which is same engine, but that feet are further forward.
Yeah.
And that I've sat on one of those, and that feels like a wonderful riding position.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Suspension, to me the Triumph felt plush, but to you,
It did
not so much.
I can't believe you thought it felt plush. I guess maybe it was just a firm suspension that suited your weight and not mine.
Be nice.
Yeah, I would say for me, I found the Interceptor and the Bear probably better suspension.
The Interceptor, even now, I think the suspension's okay. It's basic, but it's okay.
Yeah.
The Bear suspension is excellent.
Yeah.
So once we see that suspension, that Showa suspension, and so fork and shocks on the Interceptor, they'll be massive thumbs up.
Yeah.
So I think the suspension on the Bear is awesome. Interceptor, as they are at the moment, not so good. Triumph, I thought it was okay. I had no dramas with it.
Lucky you.
Now, this is the thing, price. This is where it comes down to, they're actually similar sort of pricing. So I went onto Bike Sales and I found a couple of 2014 T100 Blacks, like we have, with about 40,000 Ks on the clock. And prices range between sort of $9,000 and $12,000.
Okay.
For 40,000 Ks. I think one of them was about 60,000 Ks. But for the same kind of money, so 11 grand, you can get a brand new Interceptor, and for 11 and a half, you can get a brand new Bear.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's not a lot of difference there.
Super comparable. Jeez.
I think it comes down to, do you want that, British build? So I think the 2014s, I think, were still made in England. Or do you go with the Indian-made Royal Enfield, which the quality is up there now, so there's really no issue there. So out of the two, or really three, because we're including the Bear, which one would you buy?
I think if it was just down to the two, I'd really struggle between the Interceptor and the T100.
Yep.
And I just think they're so close, and I think that really does just come down to personal preference. But if we were throwing the Bear into the mix, I would probably say it's just slightly above the other two for me in terms of the suspension, the engine, the looks, the color options, everything. So yeah, I'd probably go the Bear.
And I'm in exactly the same boat.
Okay.
Bear, I actually didn't mention it, but the seat on the Bear is way more comfortable than the other two.
Yes.
The fact that you get a 5-year warranty, new bike, the suspension is by far superior on the Bear than both the older Interceptor and the T100.
Yep.
I think it's just then having that new bike, new warranty, less issues. Buying a second-hand bike, if you know it's well maintained, then there's no issue, but sometimes you don't know the history of these bikes. So for me, I would probably go the Bear, and you're the same.
Yeah.
But between an Interceptor and a Bonnie T100, very, very close.
Yeah. Man, that's hard.
It is. Let us know in the comments below if you think we're on the money or if we're completely wrong about these bikes.
Yeah, we'd love to know your opinion. If you've ridden any of those bikes or maybe just one, let us know.
Now, for some reason, we don't get a lot of Triumphs to ride, so for now, check out this playlist of Royal Enfields.